All right. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the daily update of my 1000 days challenge. This is day 309. So let's get things started. All right. So first and foremost, you'll notice a small drop in terms of the experimental trade setup. So similarly, like what I mentioned, I've entered, I think three trades yesterday. So I think one towards the end of it, I would say the trades itself is not that ideal looking back in terms of hindsight, simply because the price is a little bit extended in terms of the 1 hour kind of time frame, and I was trying to push in terms of the momentum itself, and in which case it didn't play out in my favor. So I wouldn't say it's a worst trade, but I would say it's not the best kind of trade setup in that perspective. All right, otherwise, in terms of market structure update itself, on the weekly chart, you'll see across the board remain relatively the same. We are seeing neutral on the S&P 500, bullish on the Nasdaq, and bullish on the ASHR, and bearish on the KWEB, followed with bearish on the Bitcoin for now, even though Bitcoin is yet to close on the weekly chart itself. However, on the daily chart is where you can see some shift in terms of market structure itself. Tentatively, US side of things still looks to be bullish, especially if we look in terms of S&P 500. You'll see that we're actually currently retesting the all-time high once again. We're very close to approaching that. So could this be a potential double top kind of pattern? Potentially, yes, but you can see that it's not just a test, a second test, I would say it's potentially a third test if you look at it this way. So this was the first test, second test, and now a very third test. So the more we test over here, potentially we will have a very strong push through, and I do hope that we consolidate a little bit more. And to me, that will be a more bullish sign in my opinion, because there goes to show that a lot of people is buying in even at this level, and even though there are sellers, they're selling at this level just as well. On the other hand, for Nasdaq, things also similarly looks to be strong, although not seems to be making a new all-time high per se. We are similarly facing the key horizontal daily resistance itself near the 13,800 mark itself. So that's something to be taken note of. All right, and let me just move on. Yeah. Okay, let's let me close this one. All right, so looking upon in terms, okay, just give me a minute. I'll pause this video for a while. All right, so resuming that again, as you can see on the daily chart itself, ASHR still looks to be strong. We're actually consolidating near this key horizontal resistance itself near the $42 mark. So potentially we can break up towards then the bullish momentum, in my opinion, is already very strong, especially after breaking this previous high around the $40 region itself and consolidating above the 150 and 200 simple moving average itself. So right now it's above all the moving averages. So technically I would say that in terms of price action wise and the interest in terms of the general side of things is definitely on the higher side. On the flip side, if you look in terms of say KWEB itself, that is where on the tech stock itself on China side of things still looks to be a little bit more bearish as price remains below all the moving averages. So it's like the complete opposite of what you're seeing in terms of ASHR. So momentum definitely does lead towards further bearish downside target itself. So let's see how price react to it. I'm not eagerly waiting to add once more. So over here, I'll be waiting for more clearer direction before adding in. But of course, if you're looking in terms of fundamental point of perspective, I'm definitely still see this as a good opportunity for buy-in. But of course, with the China government in terms of the regulations that they can apply to the tech monopoly kind of a structure or their kind of views in it could have a very drastic impact in terms of the tech stocks itself. But of course, I do see this as an overreaction kind of results leading to this drop itself. In fact, if you look in terms from the top to the bottom, we actually retraced close to almost 40%. The peak was around 37%. So I'll say that this is definitely a good buy level itself, looking in terms of the overall perspective. Not to say that it cannot go any lower, but you're getting a pretty good discount, which is around 37, 38% discount. Where you buy today is still around 35 or 30 over percent discount. And finally, for Bitcoin itself. So for Bitcoin itself, similarly on KWEB, we are seeing that is below the daily moving averages across the board, even on the 20 exponential moving average. So a very interesting thing is that if you actually do into Ethereum, which is the second biggest kind of a crypto market itself, it actually above the 200 simple moving average on the daily chart. So it does give some sort of a conflicting signal in that perspective in terms of broad market wise. And you can also see certain altcoins doing extremely well in the past few weeks and has been recovering a lot stronger than Bitcoin itself. So I'm not to say that Bitcoin is bearish in nature. In fact, I would say that these levels will be much more attractive in terms of valuing Bitcoin. And if we do accumulate somewhere or consolidate somewhere right below these 20 exponential moving average, even breakout towards the upside could be much stronger, and in fact, it could be something that we would like to see, especially if we break out multiple resistances across the 40K mark, the 42K mark itself. So there's something that I'll be very keen at. If you break up above, it goes to show that the shift in terms of momentum could come in very swiftly just as well. And to me, consolidating right over here is still technically a bullish sign until we cleanly break below. So of course, I still have a short setup over on the 4-hour chart. But do bear in mind that the 4-hour chart, if I look in terms of direct price action itself, actually does not no longer look as bearish as it is, because yesterday, even though there was an attempt to push to lower low, you can see that there was strong volume on the 4-hour chart, but we actually failed to sustain this kind of selling pressure, and the buying momentum was actually stronger. So technically, even though right now I'm at a loss, I'm actually thinking of closing out the trade itself, or just leaving it, hitting the trading stop loss itself, no issues based on that. But do bear in mind that I do think that this price is more likelihood to hit towards the stop loss. Reason being is, when it does break above this kind of upslope trend line, in the first place, I do not like to use this kind of slope trend line because they're highly subjective. And secondly, if it does break above, to see a conviction wise, I want it to see a very sharp drop following thereafter, or even just weak consolidation. But in which case, there was an attempt to push lower low, but it actually failed to sustain the kind of momentum, which is technically a good thing in terms of Bitcoin on the overall bullish run in, I would say. All right, so otherwise with that said, I've come to the end of today. Intraday wise, I would say I do lean towards some sort of bullish momentum, simply because if price for Bitcoin can remains above the 20 and 50 simple moving average, then things will definitely be looking good on the altcoins itself. So for this position, if I were in it, I'm currently in it right now, I'm definitely considering to close it. Or if it actually does come right to here with a weak selling pressure again, then similarly, I'll look to close it. So I'll react accordingly, or probably potentially even just close half the position itself. Otherwise, with that said, I've come to the end of today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.